Hello, I'm making a video about my experience applying to dentistry in England, as well as what I would have done differently, and some key mistakes and tips that I made, which hopefully you won't if you're watching this video. So during year 11 or GCSEs, it's not the most crucial period, but it's still important. I'd say it's a good time to get a grasp on what you would like to do, so do a range of work experiences, try see what you want. If you already are sure that you want dentistry, then great. However, you do still have to perform quite well in your GCSEs, so you need to get around a 6 or 7 in English and maths as a minimum, and then hopefully quite highly in the sciences as well. Year 12 I've split into two parts because it's probably the year in which you will do most of the things for the application. So you start year 12 off by choosing your A levels. I would recommend 100% doing biology and chemistry because that will set you off in the best place to apply, and it's also very broad subjects, so you could end up applying to medicine or biomed or a range of careers. You also have to do volunteering. I personally did a bit of mentoring of younger years. This kind of just shows you're empathetic and you're committed to the career, as it is a very long 5 years in university, so they need to see that you're willing to put the work in. Additionally, work experience would be best to get in year 12 rather than year 13, as you won't be as busy with A levels, and it will allow you to be sure you want to do that career before you apply. I would recommend, I only did some work experience at private dental practices, but I think having done some at both private and public dental practices would be really helpful, especially in the interview where you can talk about the differences and some key experiences in both. In the second part of year 12, around this summer, you'll have to do the UCAT. I used MedEntry and Medify, so like 3 weeks one, 3 weeks the other, and I would really recommend them. They are really good. I'm using Medify this year to reapply. There is a lot to do in year 12, but make sure not to slack on the A levels. Almost all of the dental schools, unless you're contextual, require AAA with an A in chemistry, and King's College London requires A star AA, so be sure to keep on top of your work. In year 13, I stopped volunteering in order to have more time for my A levels and be sure I could get the results required. I got 2 interviews from KCL and Leeds. However, I did poorly in both and got no offers. I especially struggled with communicating my ideas, as I spent most of the preparation time learning the content, such as the pillars of ethics. After this, I started looking into applying internationally, mostly to Spain, as that's quite easy, it's quite nearby, but I unfortunately missed the deadline. Thus, I'm taking a gap year and reapplying. Now, what would I have done differently at each stage? These are just some small points. You might think they're obvious, you might not, but hopefully you won't make the same mistakes as me. Now, the first problem I had was with university selection. There are only 14 in the UK for undergraduates, so you'd think it would be an easy process, right? You don't have a choice blindness. I applied to KCL, Leeds, Bristol and Cardiff, but I was rejected pre-interview from Bristol and Cardiff. If I could turn back time now, I would have chosen universities with higher offer rates and perhaps lower entry requirements, so in quotation marks, easier to get into, as well as researched my chances at each university based on my statistics. So if I had a really strong UCAT or weak GCSEs, or a weak UCAT and good GCSEs, you get it. Finally, don't get overconfident. Remember, everyone applying to dentistry, or most people, are smart. They all meet the minimum requirements, which are already very high, which are AAA, so it will be a competitive process, and you're going to have to stick through it and work at every stage. Now, the second problem, interviews. Now, I had a panel interview for King's, for which they only gave me 2 weeks to prepare for, and I hadn't done any preparation before, so it was a bit of a rush, and I focused mostly on content and didn't have time to do any mock interviews. Additionally, my one at Leeds, I had a lot more time, to be fair, but I thought it was going to be easier as it was an MMI and I had not done any mocks. So in conclusion, I think you should start preparing around the start of November, because in the chance that you do get an interview sprung upon you with only 2 weeks to prepare, it gives you the foundations in order to good in it and hopefully achieve the place. It's not a good feeling that you do the whole year, you get all your A levels or your predicted grades, you get a good UCAT, and then to just fall short at the interviews. It's quite a shame, but I've learned it for next time, and hopefully you won't do the same. Interviews are really, really, really important. Additionally, at least the ones I had, they mark content and communication separately. So they gave me a score out of 10 for my content and a score out of 10 for my communication. I performed awfully in communication. I'm not too sure if that was because I was nervous or I just hadn't practiced or I'm just not a good communicator, but I'm going to be practicing a lot more of that this year, and hopefully it will change. And I recommend you do the same. A good balance of content and communication, you can't go wrong with that. The third problem was applying internationally. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to apply internationally to Spain, but unfortunately I missed the deadline. This is because the official UCAS deadline is like June something, uh, but universities can take a very long time to answer. By the time they've actually rejected you or given you an offer, hopefully, it may be too late to apply internationally, or it may be a really bad timing. For example, it could be just as you've got mocks for your A levels, or you've got a lot of revision or a lot of work. So I recommend start looking into Plan Bs and Plan Cs during your year 12 summer, maybe. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful. It's meant to give you a bit of insight into the experience of applying, as well as some stupid, silly mistakes which hopefully you won't make. And I don't mean to discourage you by any chance. Dentistry is an amazing career. I mean, that's why I'm taking a gap year and reapplying. But yeah, keep on working hard,